Susan Boyle became super famous after her amazing singing tryout on Britain's Got Talent. At first, people didn't think she would win, but her powerful voice changed everything. She had a great career, winning America's Got Talent champions, and she made more than $45 million. Then she suddenly disappeared from being famous. Come with us as we find out what happened to the singer and learn more about her story. Susan Boyle is living proof that you should never judge someone by how they look. Susan Boyle was born on April 1 Street, 1961. Her dad, Patrick Boyle, worked in mines and sang, while her mom, Bridget Boyle, worked as a typing helper. Susan has 4 older brothers and 6 older sisters. She grew up in a government house in West Lothian in Scotland where she still lives today. Other kids picked on her at school. The only thing that made Susan feel better was her love for music. She was a singer in her church choir and also joined local talent shows and won some of them. Her mother told her to try out for Britain's Got Talent. But Susan thought she was too old, so she gave up on the idea. It was nice to watch Underdog, but Susan could not try out when it started in 2004. But after her mother died in 2007, she finally tried out in 2008. She had been taking care of her sick mother until her mother died. She had not sung in public until this time. During the show Britain's Got Talent held in Glasgow, Susan amazed the judges and the people watching with her singing of I Dreamed a Dream. Everyone stood up and clapped. Amanda Holden said it was the biggest surprise ever. She kept talking about people looking down on her because of her looks. After that, Susan Boyle became famous. Famous people like Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher started writing nice things about her on Twitter. After becoming successful all over the world, her tryout video became popular on YouTube, getting the most views out of any YouTube video. Even though she came in second place in the contest and had early problems because she was tired, Susan started her new life as a singer. She went on tour with the other contestants and worked on her first album. Susan's story helped many people, showing that dreams can come true at any age. Her first album, I Dreamed a Dream, came out in November 2009 and broke sales records. It sold more than 2 million copies around the world in its first week. It's still the fastest-selling first album by a female singer ever recorded. From the beginning, Susan's dream seemed as far away as the stars. She was the youngest of 6 sisters and 4 brothers. She was born when her mother Bridget was 47 and had little money to take care of another child. Having the baby was almost deadly, and Susan was fly without oxygen, which caused her learning problems, or so she was told. Later, when she was most famous, she found out something totally new about her health problem. School was a terrible time. For Susan, she was bullied by other kids and teachers too. In a sad interview, she told how hard it was to keep up in a school that wanted speed and quick learning. She said, I was a slow learner. I'm just a little slower at learning things than others. So you get left pinned in a system that wants to go fast, you know. That was what I felt was happening to me. Her teachers were mean and hit her with a belt when she had trouble with schoolwork. Other kids called her Susie Simple and always said mean things to her, making school the worst time of her life. Being bullied and getting hit stopped her from growing as a person and created more problems in her school life. Going on stage in Britain's Got Talent was Susan's way of proving the mean people wrong, showing she could do something great even though they were cruel. Her performance was sweet payback. She later wrote and sang You'll See on her first album, a song telling her bullies that she made it even though they were heartless. But her path wasn't easy. In 2011, Susan told people a sad part of her childhood. Besides the learning disorder no one knew about, she also had epilepsy. The doctors had given the right diagnosis, but the people who were close to Susan, her parents and teachers, couldn't deal with her epilepsy. The doctors had made a right diagnosis, but her parents and teachers didn't know how to handle Susan's epilepsy. This sickness isn't unknown among musicians. Sir Elton John, Neil Young, and Lil Wayne also have epilepsy. But in Susan's case, the diagnosis was handled very badly. She remembered having seizures at school a lot, which gave her bullies more reasons to be mean. She would faint during class, and when she woke up, other kids would stand around her, call her names, and laugh at her. At home, things aren't much better. Her parents would protect her too much during episodes, and if problem became too troublesome, they would leave her to take care of herself. When she asked for extra help, her father would call her touchy Everyone thought Sun's epilepsy was connected to her learning problems, which wasn't true, so the sickness went without treatment. It's no surprise that Susan finished school with few good grades. She had trouble finding a job because she didn't have good grades and her learning disability wasn't diagnosed right. According to Susan, she applied to many places but either didn't get called back or failed after her first interview. She finally got a job as a trainee cook at West Lothian College, which lasted only 6 months. Most of the time, she had to move from one government training program to another without a steady job or enough money. Even with these challenges, she found happiness and comfort in performing at local places, which was all of her musical career until a tragic loss pushed her to go after a dream she hadn't dared to hope for. Even though she had a tough family life, Susan Boyle believed in forgiving and helping others. She didn't have a Mick growing up and wasn't romantic, famously saying during her Britain's Got Talent time, "Never been married, never been kissed." Her modesty and goodness led to big life choices. After her father died, all her brothers and sisters left their 4-bedroom government house, leaving behind their old, sick, and weak mother. Only Susan and her 10-year-old cat Pebbles stayed. Even after becoming a world-famous musical artist and earning millions, Susan still lives in her childhood home, keeping a simple life. A neighbor said that when her mother Bridge Boyle died, Susan wouldn't come out for 3 or 4 days or answer the door or phone. Susan is a practicing Roman Catholic, singing in her church choir and helping by visiting elderly members of the church in their homes. She said her life was boring and the same every day before becoming famous. During a 2010 episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show in 2012, Susan was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome and told everyone about this in an interview in December 2013. She also has epilepsy. In November 2012, when asked about internet dating, she joked that she was too scared, saying, "Knowing my luck, I'd go out on a date and you'd find my body parts scattered around various Blackburn trash cans." In July 2013, Susan supported the Better Together campaign to keep Scotland as part of the United Kingdom in the 2014 independence vote. She said, "I am a proud patriotic Scot, passionate about my heritage and country, but I am not a nationalist." She added, "We have kept her proud identity while being a part of Britain." Susan doesn't drink alcohol, and she has type 2 diabetes. She was first diagnosed in June 2013. In November 2014, the news reported that she had a boyfriend who often said he was her first boyfriend, and they were almost the same age. She had a small stroke in 2022 and later shared this during an episode on June 4, 2023, after Britain's Got Talent show. What do you think motivates Susan Boyle to stay in her childhood home until today? In Britain's Got Talent, even though she had a kind-looking face, Susan Boyle's appearance was judged because she had no fancy clothes, but her beautiful voice stunned everyone, including the judges. The change from theatrical scenes of bullying to the one where she gets a standing ovation before, during, and after her performance got attention worldwide. Susan's tryout became popular in a week, and the video that showed her was watched more than 100 million times. Collections of her earlier performances, like her 1999 Cry Me a River performance, became popular. Susan faced the challenges of sickness and being tired throughout the show. Still, she made an excellent final standing. She came in second place, only losing to dance group Diversity. But she had won the most important battle of her life. The government changed defense spending to meet public approval because of events shown in Susan's show. Many people realized people should never give up on their dreams, no matter how old they are. Her first album, I Dreamed a Dream, came out in November 2009 and was a huge success. It became one of the fastest-selling first albums by a female artist. It sold more than 2 million worldwide in the first week of its release and became the record breaker in UK sales. It also became the most sold album in Thepper sales from Amazon. The album success was clear, and I Dreamed a Dream was able to claim its place as the biggest-selling record in the world in the year it came out, with more than 9 million copies sold. Billboard News said this was the highest first-week sales for a beginning female artist's album as recorded by SoundScan in 1991. After this success, Susan Boyle set a Guinness record for the fastest-selling first album of a female artist, the record for the highest first-week sales and the record for the oldest person to reach the highest record for a first album in the United Kingdom. Susan's big voice and inspiring story touched people worldwide, especially in America. She appeared on America's Got Talent, where people welcomed her warmly. Gone were the days of being put down. Susan enjoyed her success and was no longer afraid. Instead of being a watcher in her own life, she truly enjoyed the world around her. Susan wasn't a role enjoying her life as the main character. Following the success of her first album, she released two more, The Gift in 2010 and Someone to Watch Over Me in 2011. After a short break, she came back with a festive album, Standing Ovation, The Greatest Songs from Stage, in 2012. 2 years later, she released another groundbreaking record, Hope, followed by A Wonderful World in 2016. After constantly working on her music, Susan took a break with no end date because of old age and other health problems. Many thought her music career was over, but Susan surprised her fans in 2019 by celebrating a decade with an album called 10, which had the very best of her work. Once again, she beat all odds and made her mark on the music industry. But with her wins came sadness. Susan's loyal fans couldn't help but notice that her heartbreaking diagnosis had changed her a lot. Even though she had much to offer, she now likes to live a quiet life far from the fancy lifestyle. Under her huge success, there is a hint of tragedy. Susan thought about her work, saying, "I had a lot of fun making the album, and I hope that the public likes it as much as I enjoyed it." If you thought Susan Boyle's success story was surprising, get ready because we are about to tell you heartbreaking facts that will change everything you thought you knew about her journey. Could these facts change how you view Susan's story? Let's find out. Britain's Got Talent had put Susan Boyle at the top of the world, but the long and hard training schedule made her very tired. While she was happy with her singing, fame was new. Following her appearance on the show, she struggled to keep up with the demanding routine of interviews, smiling for the photographers, and dealing with harsh and rude critics. Even though Susan's reputation came before her, she did not win the show, and right after the finale, she had to go to the hospital. The media attention over 5 weeks had worn her out, and she was getting physically weak. Later, it was told that Susan had suffered a breakdown. Even though she was very talented, she failed to get enough public votes, which made her lash out at the show's manager. Rumors from the set said that Susan had thrown water at a staff member while yelling that she hated the show. That night, the staff at her London home called the police because of her strange behavior. A few hours later, Susan had to go to a mental health care place. The news of her breakdown spread quickly, and it was told that people who made Britain's Got Talent had ignored Susan's weak mental and physical health leading up to the final. The United Kingdom's media watchdog Ofcom wanted to start an inquiry into the show for caring more about ratings than participants' health, but the idea was later dropped. This experience taught Susan to take her music schedule more lightly, but it wasn't possible as she had a challenging touring schedule. Even with this, she performed brilliantly for her fans while working on her music. Susan had another setback in her career in 2013 when she finally got a right diagnosis of her learning disability. Interestingly, though, there was no actual brain damage. It was a wrong diagnosis that was made about her young self. The singer was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is a type of autism spectrum disorder. Hearing such a fact was heartbreaking, but on the other hand, it was lucky as well. For years, Susan had believed that a minor problem at birth had caused her permanent damage. Thinking about her school years, she thought of herself as unlucky. But the Asperger's diagnosis let her get the proper treatment for the first time in her life. In an interview with The Guardian, Susan said that being labeled as brain damaged always felt cruel and unfair. Deep down, she knew she was like every O'Neill's, but had her way of doing things. She also hoped her diagnosis would encourage people to treat people with brain differences more kindly. She said, "I think people will treat me better because they will have a much greater understanding of who I am and why I do what I do." After the brave sharing, Susan got lots of support from fans and critics. People liked her honesty about her life experiences, a trait that many celebrities stay away from. If this wasn't enough, Susan was forced to give up apparently weakness in the same year, her love for eating chocolate. This became hard when she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Though the diagnosis was on time, Susan had to deal with a new lifestyle while still adjusting to autism. Later, when the pandemic hit, she had to take extra steps to protect herself from the contagious COVID-19 virus causing another gap in her musical career. For at least 2.5 years, she had to stay home and avoid talking with people who could have helped her record another groundbreaking album. Susan's life was not just about public support and successful albums. Things were bad at home too. In 2010, she bought herself a house with her earnings, but a group of troublemakers made her life terrible by throwing rocks, trying to break in, and throwing toilet paper at her house. Finally, she returned to her childhood home and gave her fancy house to her niece. She was generally sad about these experiences, but her sister's sickness led Susan to take a brief break before her 2015 comeback. Her sister Britty had lost her life to cancer at the age of 73, and since she was closest to Susan, her passing left Susan emotionally upset. Also, Susan had to take care of Britty's daughter. After Susan's explosive success, Britty had been a supportive sister in many ways. She stood by Susan when the media criticized her for random things like her appearance and kept her grounded when success followed her everywhere. Britty was Susan's keeper during her ugly fight with their brother Jerry. Susan's success meant she had millions in her bank account, and a very own, including her siblings, wanted a piece of that. The problem started when Susan decided to help Jerry by giving him $75,000 to save his failing business. When her other siblings had a problem with his, Susan said that Jerry had threatened to kill himself if she didn't give him the check. This caused a fight between them, and Jerry publicly said Susan was lying. But in 2016, Susan's public breakdown at Heathrow Airport would bring the siblings back together, giving a heartwarming ending to their fight. Unfortunately, Susan Boyle's health problems have not stopped. In May 2022, it became known that she had a minor stroke and therefore found it even more challenging to work on music. She shared this touching news after a great performance on Britain's Got Talent stage, where she got to sing with West End cast of Les Miserables, an event that was so touching for her. Susan said that it was important to return to the stage after her stroke, saying, "Last April, I suffered a minor stroke, and I thought it would be crazy to be back on stage, but I've done it." That night, she went on Instagram to tell her followers that she had to do lots of speech practice to perform her beloved song, "I Dreamed a Dream." Her hard work paid off, and today she continues going after her musical career despite various health challenges. Despite the stroke that delayed her plans for new music, the amazing Susan Boyle still performs for her fans whenever she has the will and energy to do so. Though she mostly stays away from the public eye, recently Susan has said not having children as one of her biggest regrets. Still, she does have a secret life involving an American boy whose identity is unknown even to the most interested media circles. In 2016, she mentioned to the Mirror that she was casually chatting with an American doctor, but they were not serious then. Since then, media reports show that Susan is now in a happy, stable relationship, but she has no plans to tell people publicly about her partner or to get married. Her boyfriend does go with her on special occasions like her birthday, but that is all that is known about her love life. Before her major appearance on the show, her fans were excited for new music. Susan Boyle remains a gift that keeps on giving, and while we wait patiently for her next musical adventure,